Tonight we have a special guest here by the name of Chris Suta. He was born and raised in Windsor, Ontario, graduated at St. Joe's High School in 2009, and is currently playing soccer, professional soccer, in Sweden. So he's currently in Europe right now. Our local time right now is 4:30, so it's about 10:30 his time. It's very nice for you coming on. Um, on behalf of Gidio Mosca, the president of Caboto Soccer, and myself, the director of Liverpool International Academy, we're glad to have you on. Thanks, Chris, for coming on. I know it's late for you. How's everything going there in Sweden?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Great. I know we have a lot to talk about here. I mean, your resume is fantastic. There's just so many um, bright. I don't know what you want to call them, but you got a lot of great things on your resume that it's hard to just pinpoint what to talk about because there's so many great things. But let's move on here. Let's talk about you know being a player here in Windsor and Essex County. When and where did you first start playing soccer?
Yeah, so I first started playing at the age of 7 for my first team. Windsor House League was where I started. I remember I was on the gold and black team, and I played about 2 seasons there, 2 years. Yes.
And then, when did you start playing competitive soccer? Because I know at the beginning it's house league and then it moves on to competitive. What did you do at that point?
Yeah, so after my second season in the Windsor Soccer League, I was recruited by Windsor FC Nationals, the U10s. So everybody was already 9 years old, about to reach 10, and I was, I think, just turned 8 at the time. So I was the only player on the team that was a year younger.
How was your experience like? Actually playing a year up, like that you felt that you were able to compete at being a
Yeah,
younger player.
yeah. I felt like I was already there, already good enough to
Right.
be with the older guys, and of course it's always great when you have the opportunity to play with older players, even if it's just a year older and at that age.
Yeah.
Just being able to be with players that might be a little bit more physically developed than you,
Right.
and
Exactly.
already 2 years playing. So,
Right.
but it was good. It wasn't so much of a challenge, but it was a good experience, a learning experience for sure.
Yeah. Now, obviously growing up and playing house league and moving on to competitive, when you were young, um, you are a professional defender, center back, to be specific. Um, did you play in different positions growing up? Because I can imagine, a lot of kids, when they first take on or go out on the soccer field, they like to shoot on net. So it's
Mm.
almost like everybody's a striker to start, when they first start. So like for yourself, like, did you play in different positions around the field?
Yeah, yeah. I started off as a striker in the Windsor Soccer League. I was scoring, let's just say, a lot of goals every
Yep.
season. And one match, because my dad was helping with the coaching, he said, and it's I faintly remember this moment, but
Yep.
he said he saw me do a slide tackle, which he never taught ever. I must have seen it somewhere, and he saw me do a slide tackle to save the team from scoring the game-winning goal. And he said he knew from that moment that I was born to be a defender, and he was a striker growing up. So I always had that I guess that striker mentality, that goal scoring blood that he
Right.
had when he was playing. So yeah, so after that I started playing defense. I started playing in the back at that young age, and even with FC Nationals, some games they played me up top if
Yep.
they felt like if they felt like they needed
Right. Right.
needed me up there. So I was still scoring goals as a defender, and I was still playing a little bit up top, a little bit in the back, but mostly primarily as a defender already at that
Yeah.
age.
Yeah. And that's a pretty cool story though, that it's sort of your dad like saw your destiny to be a defender, watching probably the perfect technique of a slide tackle, you know what I mean? So, because that was one of the things that, I was going to talk to you about, is that, like, how did you just end up becoming a defender or center back? But like, that was sort of what the push that your dad kind of gave you and told you, hey, I think you're, I think you're made to be a defender. So that's pretty cool. Um, so now after you played for FC Nationals, um, you went on and actually went to Romania in Germany. And I think you were what, 18 years old at this time, 17 or 18?
I was the first time I was 17. I was 17 years old.
So
Um, yeah, actually, before even going overseas, when I was with FC Nationals, I remember doing like a short, I think it was a summer camp with, are you familiar with Bryce from Toronto? Bryce Academy?
yes, I heard of it.
Yeah,
Yes.
so they were pretty big back then, and I did this summer camp with them, and we went over to Italy, and I was playing a few games there. We played Lazio, we played their
Oh,
U16s.
wow.
Yeah, we played their U16s, we played Roma's U18s,
That's
and yeah, it was a great experience for me. And I played not any league games with them, but I was in a few of those camps, and that kind of gave me some confidence to try to go overseas, to not take maybe the college route or anything like that. I always wanted to be a professional player.
right.
So yeah, that's when at 17, that's when I went and used my father's connections over in Romania and went there.
Yeah. That's awesome. And obviously having a chance to play against, like a big Italian superpower like Lazio and other various clubs, it gives you a motivation too, right? Because then you're playing against, or you're playing with these pros. So you
Yeah.
kind of get motivation of like, no, I feel like I can do this, right?
Yeah, exactly. Especially when, against Lazio, it was a 2-1 game. Um, and we beat Roma. We beat their U18s
Wow.
1-0. So, when you play well and you kind of compare yourself to those guys and
Right.
think, hey, like, what if I was on their team? Would the score have been any different? Would I have done any better or worse? So then you start to gain confidence in yourself. And, especially when, it might have changed now, but when I was with FC, it was Tuesday, Thursday schedule, 2 trainings a
Right.
week, which I think, of course, you should be training Monday to Friday. And in Europe, they're Monday to Friday, even Saturdays, right?
And we're going
So,
to talk about that actually. That's going
okay.
to be later on in the discussion about, 2 times a week training compared to doing things on your own as well. So
Yeah,
that's a
yeah.
great
Yeah, I'll,
point.
I'll keep my point for that then.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a great one. So, what was your experience when you went to Germany and Romania? You ended up coming back here to Windsor, and am I right that you ended up taking on a soccer scholarship at the University of Detroit Mercy because you ended up going there and playing?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah. So when I went over to Romania the first time, I went to visit some family and decided, hey, if I'm there, why don't I try to basically train with the U17 team,
yep,
knowing that I'm gonna come back and finish high school, right? I want to at
right,
least finish high school. So I wanted to get myself in the system, get seen under the radar, whatnot. So I went to Poli Timișoara. So my home, my parents' hometown is Timișoara in Romania, and that's their top team at the moment. At that time, they were one of the best teams in Romania in the top league. And being there and training with the U17s and seeing that yeah, I'm not bad, and the coaches also they really liked me. They liked that I came over with a lot of ambition, and they liked the playing style, and this grew me. This I grew in confidence after this, and decided that okay, after high school, this is a good option to return and possibly play a season or two with their youth and maybe work my way up to the top team. But I went to Germany instead.
Right.
So I graduated and then went over to Hoffenheim. So I had, I guess, a family friend that set me up there with their U18s. And that was very good experience. So their U18s was mm, maybe three teams from the first team. So you have the first team, the U23s, the reserves, and then you have the U19s, U18s. And there was a lot of really good players. And I was there training 3 months. So I was living and playing there 3 months and did very well. But unfortunately, they had seven other center backs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So
It's tough.
like in many situations, the circumstances have to be right too, right? So
Yeah.
you know,
Absolutely.
he's
And
like,
Chris,
look, I can't
you
sign
all,
you to seven
right.
seven other guys, right? So
I know, and you also played with the U20 Canadian national team as well.
yeah. So after Hoffenheim, he said, look, he said, I can't keep you here because financially doesn't make sense, and your chances of playing are very low when I have seven other center defenders, right? So he's like, what matters is that you're at this level, you can play here. So let me help you with another team. So then that's when he sent me, and I signed for another team in Germany before coming back to Canada and playing in the national for the national team. So I was there. I was there one season with a U19 Bundesliga team in my birth town because
Wow.
actually I was born in Germany. So I went there and played with Regensburg, the U19s, and that was a very very good experience for me. And I would say I made a lot of progression that year and got me to a level where I can be, one of the best players in the
Right.
country at
Yeah.
U20. And I think that's what helped a lot with getting me ready for the U20s.
Right. And like again, like you've experienced a whole ton, you know, at the youth level. I mean, you played on the national Canadian national team. You went to university. Before all that, while you were in high school, you went to Romania, Germany. So like, it's unbelievable how much experience and exposure you've had in the game and playing against like quality teams and players. Now, you know, what was the feeling like for you that, hey, you've done all these things as a youth player? What was the feeling like for you to actually sign your first pro contract? I mean, that's something that you wanted from the start. And, just talking to you right now, you're very ambitious, you're motivated, you're very driven. And now you got to actually sign the pro contract. What was that feeling like for you?
Yeah, it was a very amazing experience. It's hard to
Yeah,
put into words. It was something that I worked my whole life towards and always thought, one day that if I continue to work this hard, it will come. And when it did, it was a great experience or a great feeling for me. And signing that professional contract was one thing, but I can tell you when I got the call and I was told that I was going to be on the national team, that was probably the best feeling out of all of them. Being able to represent your country, knowing that
right,
that you were chosen and that you're considered, one of the top players in the country. That
right.
was that was huge. I was ecstatic.
So now we're sitting here in 2020. You signed the pro contract in 2009. So we're talking 11 plus years later, and you're still playing pro. I
Yeah.
mean, now how many clubs have you been to in those 11 years? Like, what's sort of been your journey like throughout those 11 years?
Yeah. Um, so coming back from Germany, I joined the team one season in the CSL. So at that time, it was like Canada's top league, but
Right,
levels behind the MLS or anything like that. But I was, playing there for technically professional, and um, went over to Germany, and again played there. I played in the second level in Romania for Utarad. I was there a few months, like a half season, and to those two clubs, came back. I had a season with a university also.
Yep.
So, and there we were bronze medalists in OUA, but we had the best team the university has ever had, with the likes of Dejo, Mayorga, um, Akbal, Tony Falkenstein, myself. The list goes on. We were really really good. Peel, Mike also, and a lot of other guys too. And from then on, I went over. I was a little bit, confused about what I really wanted. So I had my stints over in Romania and Germany, and then school, and I decided to leave school after a year. And I wanted to get myself back overseas, but I thought that my chances might be better to try in Northern Europe. Not to say Scandinavian football is not good, but when you think of Europe, you think of England, Spain,
Of
Italy,
course.
Germany, right? And trying in Germany, it was very difficult to work my way up to a top level team, because the competition is just so high, right? And then even Romania is some good football. And I said, you know what? Let's try over maybe Iceland, Norway, Denmark, Finland,
Right.
Sweden. And I did this combine with PSC, Pro Soccer Consulting. It's like I don't know if you've heard of Soccer Bees, PSC, those American companies. So it's like they do like these combine showcases, and yeah, they got me over there and did really well. Got offered a contract, signed in Finland. Had a good season, signed for a better club in Finland, had another really good season, and decided that the only way up from Finland would be Sweden, because the football's a little better in Sweden, right? And then it's right on par with maybe Denmark, and Norway's also better than Finland. So yeah, and then to be honest, when I signed here in Sweden, this was the first club that I returned to after a season. I've
Wow.
been bouncing, yeah, every season to different clubs, and it wasn't that these clubs didn't want me. It was just that I was always searching for better and better,
Right.
and and I decided, okay, at 25, 26, I'm like, maybe I need some stability in life, right?
Right. Right.
You get to a point where your development is very important up until 23, 24, 25. Not to say you can't develop after. If you're in the right atmosphere, if you're with the
Right.
right players, you will always develop. You can develop after 30. I feel like I'm still learning things every training, right? But when you reach a certain age, it also comes down to the future, to your financial status, to having some sort of stability life, especially when you're bouncing from country to country. So I've been here at this club now. This will be my fourth season, and I've had chances to go play for better teams, but they have really good conditions here for me. They've recognized me as a very important player, and uh, I have literally no expenses here. They have me set
That's
up,
awesome.
yeah, set up with everything that I need. A football salary, work on the side, coaching. They're helping me. I got my UEFA C last year. They're helping me with my
Good.
UEFA B license, and now at 28, this is something that I want to do in the future, right? Coaching. So I told myself, if it's not a really good offer, next season or whatever, and I can settle here, and I'd be happy with where I'm at. So
Yeah. Well, that's incredible. Like most players, and you've been, through so many situations. There's players that, have doubts, in their careers. Did you go through any doubts as a player, and like how did you overcome these doubts?
yeah, there's three situations now that came to mind. The first one was when I was in Germany, and I was a new guy in the team there in the U19 Bundesliga, which the level it's one of the best top
Right.
youth leagues in the world, right? So we had Bayern Munich in our group, we had Stuttgart, we had Greuther Fürth, we had some Nuremberg, some really big clubs that play in the Bundesliga with the first team. So Playing against those players and on my team, we weren't one of the top teams, but we were okay. And I came there with a lot of ambition, good with everything that I needed, but at the same time, I wasn't exactly ready right at the moment that I got there to jump right into the starting 11, right? So it was very hard for me to show myself in every training, every friendly that I could to to prove that I deserve to be one of
Right.
the two center backs, right? And there was, I think, five at the time. And I didn't play as much as I would have liked to, but this was a learning experience for me, and it gave me the ambition to go home after every training or before every training and do my own sessions and work on what I needed to work on to get better and better. And that's what got me onto the U20s, really, all that hard work that I was doing, and
Right.
using that negativity and fueling it for ambition is it's what any player should do in a situation
Yeah.
like
And,
that.
and it seems like you're very focused, right, through this whole process, to keep your mind straight and look at the goal in the long run, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And there's situations where you might not like what's going on. And
Right.
every player has to understand that everybody will have their turn where they're not the ones playing. It
Right.
doesn't mean that maybe they're not better than the guys that are playing, but it can be anything. I had my second club in Finland. The coach, he was very well connected with the agent, with one agent and an owner, and they were favoring guys that weren't better but that needed to play, and it's
Mm,
football is very political everywhere too.
right.
And unless these things are brought to light, like the public light, things like this will happen all the time. They might tell
Yeah.
you the best 11 will play, but it's not always the best 11 that play in some situations, right? And yeah, I was spending a lot of time, on left back, defensive mid. I even went up top one game, and the rest of the game center back, right? But a lot of times I also came off the bench when I knew that I deserved to start. And this was very difficult, but I stayed as professional as I could, and I never approached the coach. You should, but you should wait for the right time to do it. You don't do it out of anger. You don't do it during training. If you want to pull them aside maybe after and ask how you're doing personally, that's fine. But never question the decisions of the coach. And when it's time at the end of the season to sit down and discuss the future, then you can ask. You can say what went wrong. Why was your decisions like that? But you have to always respect the coach's decision. So, and you have to overcome those situations where you might not be playing as much as you deserve to, or getting the credit that you deserve. And you have to understand that's football.
Right. Um, Now, you know, to get where you are today, right? I think, you mentioned it earlier about, how many times you should be training. You guys obviously have gone through this pandemic just like the rest of the world, right? A lot of our kids right now, we're in phase one, and everything's sort of done like a virtual training right now, right?
Mhm.
Um, but if you do, your typical 2 training sessions a week, I mean, can you elaborate a little bit on, like, you probably have to do more than just 2 organized training sessions with your team to become a better player and even a professional player.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, definitely, definitely. It's a lot of people have the idea that you always have to work hard, which is true. You have to work hard, but as hard as you work, you need to work smart, right? So if you're having team sessions and they're quite good, then you need to take time away from these team sessions and work on something that you might have as a weakness, or whatever you want to work on, but it doesn't necessarily mean killing yourself on your spare time and then not being up to par in team training. So you have to always show face in team training, and then, you know, the free time that you have, work on your weakness, something that you might have not done that day, or if you're unhappy with how the training might have gone and you want to fix something about it, then yeah, then spend time training on your own. But it doesn't mean always running until you can't breathe, right? So you have to be smart with how you play in your trainings and when you have games and how your team sessions are. So
Right. Um, what do you think the future holds for you now? You're how old did you say you were at this point?
I will be
You're
29
20.
in about 3 weeks, maybe a little less. 3 weeks, yeah.
So what do you see yourself doing, say, in the next 5 years? Like, obviously, you're going to continue on, being a professional soccer player there in Sweden. You feel that things are stable. You don't. I think things change, right, from when you're 21 to now 29, and you've been
Yeah,
through.
definitely, yes. Well, of course, this is it's a tough question, honestly. This is
Right.
you can say it's demons that I battle every day because being 28, 29 in any position, this is when
Right.
you become your best, your prime. Your prime is at 30. For most players, your prime is at 30, and then you decline slowly every season, right? Because of just getting older and the physical burden that training puts
Right.
on you. But also being a center back, you might peak at 31, 32 as a center
Yeah.
defender, and a
You know.
lot of teams look for older players, right?
You know what, Chris?
Experience.
I was going to mention to you that the center back position is another. It's, to me, I feel like it's a specialized position, like a keeper, because, like, I mean, keepers don't peak until they're in their 30s. Like, even you look at Buffon, he's still playing, right, and
Yeah, and he's
he,
still as good as
he's
ever. Yeah,
unbelievable, right? So,
yeah,
center back position is like an experienced position, number one. Number two, like, just very intelligent position. And, you know, I mean, I'm just thinking of center backs that have gone way past their 30s and played pro. So, who knows? In the next 5 years, you might actually still be playing, to be honest.
yeah, yeah. I see myself playing, no doubt. Like I said, these are demons that I battle because I started with my coaching, right? So,
Right,
it's good to have this. If you're in a situation where you can do it, it's always good to start early. Why not? But it doesn't mean that you need to continue going with it if you still feel like you can play. So, it's good that I have this as a plan B. If I decide to play here or at a lower level, then I can do the coaching, focus more on that, hopefully become a better coach than I was as a player. But if I have the chance to go on, then yeah, I'm training every day,
right,
and um, it also comes down with how you take care of yourself, your body, your mind, your physical status, how fit you are. Because if you take care of yourself, you eat right, you train right, yeah, you could play up until the mid 30s. Why not? Keepers
right,
go up until 40, right? So
right,
um, I'm being there now. I feel like it's too early for me to give up on playing at a very high level, a top
right.
level. So I still give myself I will give myself the chance if it comes. So I'm open to that. And then of course, if I get a good coaching position, then I'll just have to consider that when the time comes.
Would you like to coach in Europe?
Yeah, definitely. I would like to.
Yeah,
I would like to. I enjoy right now. I have some kids. I do some coaching here.
yep,
I got my UEFA C license.
yep,
I would like to coach a younger group or maybe 13 to 19. But the goal is to become a first team coach eventually, and
right,
that of course comes after the UEFA A and the pro license here. So
right. Well, obviously, you still have your family here in Windsor, right? So you're
yeah,
you're
yeah,
you're gonna be back here from time to time. So, like, it'll be awesome. Like, I think it'll be really cool if we can have you out one time while you're in Windsor and come out and maybe do a little bit of a half hour, 45 minute or an hour training session with our kids. A
yeah,
lot of them end up watching this video, and it'll just be really neat for them, to get that connection with you. You've been, you born and raised here. A lot of these kids are following your footsteps. So it'll be really neat for them to see you on the field and have you there. One of the three things that, and I wrote this down, that I really loved about what you said. Um, one of them was, you said you're still learning, and you're a professional soccer player. And for our young kids that are going to watch this, I think that's really important for them, because I think when you stop learning is when you stop growing, right? And, you've been a pro for 11 years and you're still learning today. So I thought that was incredible. The next thing was, the right time to approach your coach. I think, I think that that's very important. I know that there's kids that might have questions for coaches, and maybe talk to them about, like, what are some things I can improve on, and how can I get myself a little bit more playing time even at the youth level. So maybe not right after a game, or maybe like, hey, you kind of let that 24 48 hour rule set in, and then maybe catch the coach before a training session and say, hey, do you mind if I talk to you? I think that's really good too. And one quote that I really like that you said was, as hard as you work, you have to work smart. I do see a lot of players, and myself, having the experience of coaching, at the Division I level, I saw a lot of kids working hard, right? And to them, sometimes they feel like, hey, like, if my sprint looks like I'm working hard because I'm sprinting harder, maybe that'll give me an advantage for more playing time or whatever it is. But I think, you have to be smart about how hard you work, because there has to be a gain in the end, right?
Yeah.
So now, I know we don't have an audience here to ask you questions, but I'm going to ask you maybe a couple questions here, if I can think of some that an audience would ask. Maybe one of them would be, who did you grow up idolizing as a player?
When I was young, I liked Inter Milan.
That's my dad's team. Wow.
Is it? Yeah.
I
It
like
was
you.
the jerseys. It was the jerseys. I don't know. One day I was watching soccer, and they had the blue and black. I'm like, oh, those jerseys are dope. Like, this is my team now. All of a sudden, I liked Christian Vieri. He was good at the time, and of course, being Romanian, Georgi Hagi, he's a
You ever
legend.
met?
No, I haven't. No, unfortunately.
That would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I never met him.
He's
He was great, and my whole family, of course, loves him. I really liked Company throughout my younger years, watching Company play, because he was such a solid center defender and such a leader. And
Man City.
Yeah, and Man City, was my team for a little while. But to be honest, I've never been a fanatic about anything, any team, any player. I'm more the type. I think watching soccer is very important, because when you watch it, of course, if you're watching it for entertainment, fine.
Right.
When you're watching it to learn something, and you're looking at the guy in your position and what he does at that level, you can learn something if you're a visual learner and you take it in. So I think it's good to do that if you want to learn something from watching. But I'd rather just be on the pitch playing, to be honest, than watching. So I've never been a huge fan of any guy. But,
Right.
Yeah.
I would say another question would be, again, I'm trying to think from the top of my head. Probably should have written this down. Did you ever, you're a pro defender, right? Did you ever feel like you could have played pro in a different position?
Yeah.
What position would it be?
I think the 6, defensive mid.
Yeah, holding mid.
Growing up, I never really played so much as a center mid, but for St. Joe's, I remember one season. The season we actually won Wexa Swassa, we won OFSA that year. It was my grade 10 season.
So hold on, before you talk about that, Joe Idone sent me an article of it was 2007, right?
Yes.
The last time I think anybody won OFSA was 1981.
It was a
That
long time.
when
Yeah.
I was born. That
Yeah.
was the last time anyone won OFSA. And so I actually read the article. You guys beat the team like 5-1 in the
We
OFSA
did.
final.
Yeah, we did
Like
5-1.
you guys must have played this team right off the
We
park.
were
Like,
we were so good. We had Sam Atkins as a keeper.
oh my God.
We had Hashim. We had Rob Malbasic. We had Isaac. We had Pat LaPera. We had uh, Io Deli. I don't know if he even plays anymore. We had Renato Galusic. We had
Like
so many good
that's
players.
an unbelievable team. Like you who in OFSA, like
For high school team, yeah, we were stacked.
Triple
And
A.
like we were just naturally stacked. Like we didn't try to recruit any of these guys. You know, like after we won the next year, we had guys coming over from St. Anne's. I remember we had Sorosky came. We had a couple other guys that wanted to join the team and they couldn't. You know, but not that they weren't good enough. It was the rules, the transfer rules.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
So yeah, it was funny. You know, we were just we got lucky. We got stacked. And that season, I started off as a center mid. I had I think 8 goals, over 10 assists. I was doing really well. And I don't know if you heard this story or not, but we were playing Brennan, and we were losing 2-0. And 60th minute, thunderstorms. So the game had to restart. We canceled the game, right?
And how long were the games at that point? How many minutes were the game? 80 minutes? Was it like 2 40-minute halves?
No, I think 45s.
Oh, okay.
I think 45s, yes. And this was quarterfinal maybe. And we were losing 2-0, and thunderstorm saved us, you know. We rematched them, and I moved to the back. I played center back that game. And for the rest of the season I was in the back, and I think only one or two games that whole, including the final, we let in a goal. Other than that, it was just shutout after shutout. We won Wrexham quite easily. I think it was Riverside who beat them in the final. We won Swassa easily, and then OFSA we came into OFSA 13th seed. Like,
wow. Yeah.
You had BTA, you had, I think it was Campion, Edmund Campion was a top team. I can't think of all the other names, but you know, all the GTA teams were ranked at the top, and then you had us 13th seed, and we were hosting it. I think that gave us a pretty big advantage too. But to be fair, when you're also winning 5-1 in the final, it's just, I think if they had the whole, like all of Canada high school competition, we would win it. I think we were the best.
Like you guys, like it seemed like you guys, like, to win a final 5-1, like you guys were like just clicking on every cylinder. Like, let's be honest, it wasn't a close game. Like,
no, it wasn't.
And you would expect it to be a much closer game. And it's not that the competition wasn't good, because you guys were playing like legit teams, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was very impressive. When Joe sent me that link, I actually read it today, and I was just like, holy cow. Like, you guys, like, just, you know, killed them. I was like, wow, very impressive. So, well, Chris, you know, you're a great ambassador for our players here, and you know, Egidio, the president, would agree with me, for Caboto and Liverpool. Great ambassador for the community of Windsor. You know, I think we can definitely do something special for you. We'll keep in contact. Maybe we'll have a Chris Suta Day where we celebrate you in our community and have a bunch of kids there. Maybe you can do some autographs and a bunch of stuff like that. It'll be great, because I think, like, you know, we talked earlier, and I said to you, you know, from the time I graduated from St. Anne's in 2000 until the time I came back in 2016, you know, there was a 16-year gap where I really wasn't connected with the community back home, just because I was, you know, more focused on what I was doing, that I lost touch of really, you know, a lot of great players like yourself. And, you know, I think it's important that, you know, our community knows, you know, that there's someone like you that has, you know, been very successful, you know, in Windsor, and a lot of kids can follow into your footsteps. And I think it's great having you on and connecting with our players. So, on behalf of Caboto Soccer Club and Liverpool International Academy, I thank you very much for being on tonight. If you can give any advice to our young players, what would be your advice before we let you go here?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be doing these interviews and speaking to you, and knowing that the younger kids will be watching this and maybe taking something from it, learning something. I can say that age is nothing but a number. You might be an early bloomer, you might develop young, do really well, and sometimes those kind of players fall off. Um, or you might develop later on if you keep training, you keep working, you keep doing the right things. I think that the most important thing is that's my dog. Good buddy. The most important thing is to keep the fire burning, because I'm sure you know this. A player might have all the skill, all the technical ability that he needs. Things that you can teach a player, maybe how to get more fit, how to become a little bit better, but you can't teach ambition. So, if you have that, and you have to keep it going. You have to keep believing in yourself, because there will be moments where your back's against the wall, and you're
Yeah.
feeling down, and maybe something didn't go for you. But if you're mentally tough, then you can overcome any situation. And you really have to believe in yourself, because especially these days, competition is evolving, the game is evolving.
Right.
uh and sometimes it's hard to find an agent or someone that really believes in you. So you have to network yourself, use your own connections, and sometimes it means, just getting up, hopping on a plane, knocking on doors, just how bad you want it, right?
Right.
So you have to always believe in yourself, like I said, and yeah, keep that fire burning, because that can get you where you need to be one day.
You never know
Doesn't
when
matter if
he's
it's,
there.
yeah.
So, well, again, Chris, thank you so much for coming on. We're going to be really excited when you end up coming home and joining us for a couple training sessions with our kid. So this wraps it up. Thanks again, and we'll end
My
up seeing
pleasure.
you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.